My presentation title is Environmental Health Impact Assessment Process for the Biomedical Indian Chromium Leather Tanneries towards the sustainable, the source specific, generic, and industrial specific development. The conceptual approach for study and check that has been focused on climate impacts. And I thank joint event on geology and climate change, EGCCC 2013, 23. The abstract is the Green Chemical Science, Technology, Education, Management, and Sustainability Studies that has been taken place to investigate the chrome tanned leather, air pollution, water pollution, and soil pollution that has been taken place in these regions, that is India, Africa, Tanzania, and where the chromium pollution beyond the sustainable limits, that is around 2000 to 3000 mg per liter of groundwater, surface water, and the air pollution, especially in the areas where the chromite mining has been, taken place, carried forward for more than 200 years in Orissa, chromite mining, and the technology, education, management, and sustainability studies that has been conducted in chrome tanned leather areas, as you have seen the areas where it is mostly polluted by the chromium pollution, especially toxic hexavalent pollution, and vegetable tan leather, that is an area of research and development in chemistry and chemical engineering and design of the products and process that minimize or eliminate use and generation of hazardous substance, and climate change geological impacts. Geological and geographical impact assessment process, climate impact and weather impact assessment has been carried out. The study and check of the Earth's physical features, features of human activities, and substance and geological features of district, state, and country in context to the chromium pollution, unsafe chromium pollution that has been carried forward. And the chromium salt, phenolic compounds, tannings, organic matter, among other products, are constantly released to the environment health, and the environmental health get affected due to the tannery water. The pollutants that offer environmental health impacts to the aquatic life and the human environmental health assessment. The geological and climate impact assessment and weather impact assessment has been carried out. The change in weather conditions in an area over a long period of time, or change in weather trend and change in general attitude of the weather conditions, that is long term, that is climate change, and the short term, that is weather change, both have been affected in the areas where the chromium pollution has been found out, investigated. That is environmental health impact assessment process, which is a systematic identification and evaluation of the potential environmental health of the various, the air pollution areas and water pollution areas. You can see the Indian unsafe chromium leather tanneries in Orissa and Africa and Tanzania and other places where mainly the chromium pollution has have considerable geological and geographical impacts on the water pollution. So that is why this particular project has been carried out by introducing the geological climate impact assessment and the cause and effects, root cause for the problems, that is a lack of organizational focus in this area. And this is a vertical management approach, the traditional way of the chromium pollution that has been surveyed by vertical dimensions, that is from the top management. And this is the horizontal management, where the process that is carried out by series of activities and that organization, the chromium pollution work gets done horizontally, cross-functionally which has considerable impacts on the air pollution and water pollution and the toxic chromium equivalent and anything which because of its quantity, concentration and physical, chemical and infection characteristics that will cause significantly contribute and increase in mortality and cause increase in reversible, serious irreversible and incapacitating reversible illness and pose a substantial present or potential hazard to human health and the environmental health when improperly treated, stored, transported, or disposed of, and otherwise manage the hazardous waste and hazardous substance in three areas: source specific, that is municipal areas, and the generic, that is a cluster of tanneries in Ambur, Vaniambadi, Tamil Nadu, and Kanpur, Ludhiana, Punjab, etc. And environmental social feasibility of the project that has been carried out. And the environmental impact assessment, which is defined as the systematic identification and the evaluation of the potential, the chromium pollution projects and plans, programs, as well as legislative actions that are related to the physical, chemical, biological, radioactive, and cultural, architectural, archaeological, historical, and social economical components of the total environmental health. The purpose of the environmental impact assessment process, that is to encourage the considerations of the environment in planning and decision making process. So here the environmental planning and decision making process that has to be considered, the environmental impact assessment, which is a core project focus, and the planning and decision making should consider the environmentally compatible projects that should not have the considerable toxic pollution on the environment, and by which the environmental degradation take place in many the air polluted areas, especially the chromium, unsafe chromium pollution in Orissa, and the deforestation of the various valleys, chromium pollution resource varies resources. The introduction is carried out by hypothesis and absorptions on geological and the climate impact assessment as far as unsafe chromium leather tanneries in these regions, by which the surface and groundwater get contaminated, and many people get affected by the beyond permissible limits of hexavalent chromium, which is nearly around 1,500 ppm to nearly 2,000 ppm, that is mg per kg or mg per liter in air pollution, water pollution, and land degradation. And the investigation that has been taken place with respect to the biomedical Indian chromium leather tanneries, African chromium leather tanneries, and the finding of the significant impacts and the predictional assessment of impacts on air environment and surface water environment, soil and groundwater environment, and noise environment, biological environment, and habitat based and methods for the biological impacts assessment, and cultural, that include the architectural, historical, and archaeological environment, prediction assessment of aesthetic impacts, that is visual impacts on the environment, prediction assessment of impacts on the social environment, social economical environment, and environmental feasibility project formulation and appraisal has been proposed by considering the public participation in project planning and decision making process, and environmental impact assessment mitigation strategies, and environmental monitoring and control programs for these areas, especially the unsafe chromium pollution in the areas like chromium in the Ranipete, Ambur, Vaniambadi, and Tamil Nadu, especially in Orissa, where 87% of the chromite metal and ore is exported to many countries in the world, and the chromium is used for the metallurgical and chromium pigments and photography and steel manufacturing and leather tanning purpose, and the various other industries. So those areas have been found for pollution, especially corroding effects, and pH is found nearly around 1 to 1.5, which is the acidic hazardous pollution, and the alkaline hazardous pollution, that is pH more than 13, has been found out here in these areas. And the interpretation of the results and the drawing conclusions, publication and citation, and replication and consensus. So sustainability studies and check have been conducted in order to, the mitigate the environmental pollution in these areas. And the opportunities for the control of chromium pollution in context to the chromium net zero pollution emissions in the industrial sector, especially the chromium pollution in Bangladesh tanneries, series of cluster of tanneries, and the Pakistan tanneries, and Indian cluster of the generic tanneries, especially the chromium pollution from the source, that is source specific areas, especially the Orissa, 15 to 16 mining areas, chromite mining areas, and agricultural for rural development for the sustainable development. And the accumulation, chromium accumulation that has been found out from the balance in such of those areas, in especially the chromium specific polluted areas, especially Orissa, it has been found out, and required for the net zero chromium pollution concept. And how this deoxygenation and reaeration take place in the river, especially Brahmani river and Buriganga river. The Buriganga river is shown here. So this is the Buriganga river. You can see how the river runs the black color. Pollution from Bangladesh tanneries, Buriganga in Dhaka, and environmental public health impacts assessment has been carried out. And the pollution at these points nearly around 36,500 ppm to 42,490 ppm. So which is beyond the the eco-friendly limits of 0.1 ppm. And it shows this requires the chromium toxicity effects and lethal dose, dermal, inhale and ingestion, that is oral and the dermal as well as the absorption in the stomach, 50 to 150 ppm. And chromium poisoning, exhaled chromium is hemotoxic, genotoxic and carcinogenic. When exhaled chromium enters the bloodstream, it damages the blood cells by causing oxidation reactions. This oxidative damage can lead to the hemolysis, and the chemical small LD50, lethal dose 50% organisms, 5 mg per liter is highly toxic, and the chemical with large LD50, 5000 mg per kg is practically non-toxic. And the particular process has been carried out, especially to enable the energy and mass transition that should limit the global rise in temperatures to within 1.5 degrees centigrade from pre-industrialized times. And the atmosphere of the chromium air pollution has been found. It is toxic, corrosive, reactive, and it is acidic as well as alkaline corrosive atmosphere, deforested areas, and it remotes by using the GAS and the geological and geographical impact assessment. This requires the mitigation of the chromium poisoning in these areas, especially the chromium pollution that has been absorbed. It is 200 years in the what is called in the open cast mining and the underground mining. So the deoxygenation and reaeration, the phenomena that has a fixed toxicity that goes even beyond 2 mg per liter, the toxic hexavalent chromium, and high BOD, COD, nearly 200 to 250 mg per liter. And the environmental pollution is able to control by means of the process approach. the activities measurement, monitoring, and control by means of hybrid approach. And the loss function has been carried out. That is quality loss function, environmental quality loss function. And the importance for the cleaner and greener, production requirements in Indian chrome tanned as well as the vegetation tanned leather tanning and footwear and eco-friendly cotton ginning industries. The sustainable climatology, which is general weather conditions towards the sustainable development in such of those areas where the high degradation take place. High degradation take place, that is called environmental health impact assessment. So for certain projects like nuclear and biomedical waste tanneries, and they are all very delicate areas which requires the environmental health impact assessment, especially the areas like India and the Africa and the Tanzania environment. So it has the considerable geological impacts as well as the geographical impacts, and which has high mortality ratio because of the corrosive atmosphere in such of the unsafe unmined pollution, especially the unsafe chromium pollution in Orissa. And this requires a systematic identification and evaluation of the potential method called the environmental health impact assessment. And this has the chromium accumulation net zero concept, and the chromium poisoning as well as the 8 climate red lines have been already crossed in such of those areas, especially the chromium pollution in Orissa, especially in India. Orissa, about 16 to 15 number of the valleys where the already red lines have been already crossed. You can see the lines in this particular stripe graphics, climate stripes and the warming stripes. The global warming has considerably reached to 1.8 degrees centigrade. So you can see that 8 climate red lines have been already crossed. Now it is in the danger zone. So which requires this kind of process approach, especially to organize this kind of approach called process approach to mitigate the environmental degradation in those areas. And the process approach will be able to control the loss due to the chromium pollution, especially hexavalent cancers are found in this vicinity. And the sustainable climatology is another important consideration. Poison scale, the negative logarithm of LD50, it is nearly around 150 to 100 ppm, that is mg per kg, which is beyond the permissible chromium toxicity areas. And materials and methods, environmental inventory, environmental impact assessment, and environmental impact statements have been provided in this particular presentation. And environmental impact assessment. And for example, you can see the cotton ginning process. And this use this chromium, the washers and the chromium rollers. These have considerable, the mass of chromium pollution, nearly around 31,000 to 40,000 ppm. And due to the dust producing grinding action and CCLC roller, chrome composite leather clad rollers, which are used in cotton ginning process to gin out the seed cotton from the seed cotton and fiber. And this roller need to be, the phased out and must be used by the new type of rubberized cotton fabric rollers. So this is a new type of rubberized cotton fabric rollers. And here it is contaminated with the chromium, and this is a new type of rubberized cotton fabric roller. The environmental friendly ginning process using vegetable tan leather roller in cotton ginning process in USA and UK. So this shows that it is the no chromium pollution in the ginning area, because it is a eco-friendly roller. That is why I have given this, because it has a considerable climate sensitivity factor, especially 1.7 to 3.2 watt per meter squared per degree centigrade to this net radiating force. And the climate sensitivity factor in ginning area is 0.9 degree centigrade per watt per meter squared, as against the safe norm of 0.5 degree centigrade per watt per meter squared for the sensible environment. And the chromium tanning, which is widely practiced all over especially India, and the tanneries in the small, medium, and enterprise and developing countries that adopt still traditional practices of chrome tanning, where the uptake of chromium by pelt, which is 50 to 60%, 50 to 60% chromium pollution, and that has a climate insensitivity factor and the net radiating force that take place on the areas where the chromium pollution has been carried out. For example, this particular ginning process have the adverse impacts due to the chromium pollution, especially toxic exhalation from chromium. And the materials and methods that are given here is identification of the geological and climate impacts of the projects, and description of the existing climate conditions, and the procure like humidity, temperature, air movement, water movement, photochemical smoke in Delhi, photochemical smoke in Orissa, and photochemical smoke in Orissa climates, especially the deforestation due to the chromium erosion, chromium pollution in Brahmani River, and climate standards, impact prediction, which is assessment of climate impact significant as well as weather impact assessment, and that supports with the identification and incorporation of the mitigation measures. So mitigation measures you can see here, there are two types of mitigation measures. One is the vegetable tan leather. The environmental friendly requires time and skill, and unique that develops a patina over time, long lasting, improves with use, natural look. Whereas chrome tan leather, you can observe, it is harmful to the environment because of the dust producing grinding action. You can see the dust producing grinding action, and this have considerable impacts on the environment, especially harmful to the environment. Mass produced and cheap, commonplace, plain texture, and wears badly, breaks easily, and artificial look. So you can see the chrome free leather and the chrome tan leather, and occupational health worker due to the chromium pollution, the cotton dust and bisonosis and chromium based disease among the workers, especially rural women, agricultural extension and rural women, and the atomic absorption spectrophotometer, which is used to find out the chromium pollution in various samples like the CCLC roller and lint cotton, seed, and the other yarn products and fiber properties. And you will find this particular report, and this is the air pollution and water pollution, which contaminants and more than chromium and other air pollution that are considerable, the disease, especially the bisonosis and the asthma and other, the chronic disabled lung disease among the workers. Not only lung disease, it is also even absorption in the absorption in the stomach and dermal poisoning. And the chromium pollution in the, cotton ginning environment, and you can see the air pollution, especially RSPM, respirable suspended particulate matter, less than 1 microns, PM2 microns, PM10 microns. They are all, very, very dangerous because it's a respirable suspended particulate matter, and it has a considerable chronic and acute lung disabled disease, COVID-19, and this is a laboratory investigation device to understand the principle of this, the chromium pollution, especially the vegetable tan leather and chromium tan leather, that is investigated in this areas, especially in the cotton ginning areas, holding the fiber and remove the seed from the seed cotton by using the knife. It's McCarthy principle. And biomedical science, which are the set of science applying proportions of natural science and develop knowledge interventions, profound knowledge system that are of use in healthcare and healthcare public health. Such disciplines as medical microbiology, clinical virology, clinical epidemiology, genetic epidemiology, and biomedical engineering that are medical sciences. In explaining physical mechanisms that are operating in pathological process and physiology and biomedical sciences, that is a focus in this particular, the environmental health impact assessment biology of human health and disease, and ranges from generic source specific and industrial specific study and check of biomedical sciences, as well the pharmacology, environmental toxicology, negative logarithm of LDT in kg per kg, and the poison number of nearly around LD50, nearly 50 to 150, and poison number is 4, the poison number in kg per kg, and human physiology and human nutrition. It is underpinned by the relevant basic sciences, including anatomy and physiology, cell biology, biochemistry, microbiology, genetics and molecular biology, and immunology, mathematics and statistics, which modeled out in this. As well, the biomedical science have the wider range of academic and research activities and economic significance, and hospital laboratory sciences. Biomedical sciences, especially generic cancer and source-specific cancer, as well as industrial-specific cancers, are the main core investigations in this particular project as biomedical science, education, and research. And how the Buriganga River in Bangladesh get polluted and the environmental degradation take place due to the unsafe leather tanning industries pollution, chromium pollution, which is more than 36,000 ppm in the water. And the climate impacts have been taken place, measured. Its alpha is nearly 1 degree centigrade per watt per meter square. And net radiating force in this chromium pollution contamination of water, especially the areas like Sukinda and Sukinda Valley, and the pollution, especially from these leather tanneries. And the environmental chromium pollution, how it should be avoided, and the necessity for the chromium tanned and chromium free tanned leather, and especially the old method of chromium, the ginning process in Britain, UK and USA, and they are all used the walrus vegetable tanned leather. It is to highlight in this particular presentation on this very high time that the UK and USA during 1990 10-20, where the technology was not advanced, that walrus vegetable tanned leather roller only were used in this fast and loose pulleys in 1920. And this has been now used as this you wound out leather tanned leather, chromium leather tanned leathers, and chromium specific dust which contaminates the lint cotton nearly 3080 ppm approximately. And how the air pollution has considerable impacts, especially PM10, that is a particulate matter less than 10 microns on these people working in this facility, which has nearly 25 micrograms per m cubed of air, as against the safe limits of UK, USA ginning air about 1.5 to 3 microgram per m cube. So the people get affected by the bisonosis and the cotton dust and COPD, COVID-19. So these are the root causes for the air pollution, because this is more than 25 micrograms per m cube of the respirable suspended particulate matter. And Lumos in Texas, USA, eco-friendly leather roller Lumos technology, no chromium pollution, you can observe here. And toxicological and adverse health effects due to the excellent chromium, and carcinogenic to workers, lung cancer among the workers, occupational asthma, eye irritation and damage, perforate eardrum, respiratory irritation, and kidney damage, liver damage, pulmonary congestion, edema, upper abdominal pain, nose irritation and damage, respiratory cancer, skin irritation, erosion and discoloration of teeth, and allergic skin reactions, allergic contact dermatitis, ulceration, as well skin exposures, eyes with chronic and chromic acid and chromium and dust, chromium, especially dust in cotton ginning and the leather tanning and footwear and nose, throat, and lung, especially the dust producing grinding areas. This is a dust produced area. So this is a walrus. Yeah, and this is a walrus actually. This is a walrus, you can see. This is a walrus vegetable tan leather. And this way, traditionally the ginning was, the separation of fiber from the seed cotton was done by eco-friendly ginning process using vegetable tan leather roller in cotton ginning in USA and UK. But if you see the Indian leather tanneries, and this type of chromium pollution because of the dust producing grinding and the cutting of the grooves in this roller have been observed. And this shows this very high amount of chromium pollution, especially air pollution in this vicinity beyond 160 ppm, and the source is nearly 36,000 ppm. And that has to be climate impacts and assessment, especially weather impacts assessment, especially occupational health risks which are associated with the chromium exposures in leather tanneries in Ambur, Waniambody, Chromepet, and Kanpur. Chromium pollution and environmental toxicological results shows high morbidity and respirable gastrointestinal tract, urinary, and blood plasma contaminating by the chromium pollution. The trivalent form is found in foods and non-toxic. Hexavalent chromium is toxic and is found in tannery as well as the footwear industrial production. Nearly 1,110 ppm or mg per liter in water pollution and land effects. And the land became corrosive as well as the toxic reaction as well as mutagenic, carcinogenic, and which shows is a hazardous environment. Hazardous means it is a very, very harmful environment, and the soil get leachability effects, and that requires special type of landfills for this chromium leather tanning waste. But that is not taken place, and the insecure landfills only used in our country. And the difference you can find with respect to the vegetable tan leather and the chromium tan leather. So this particular project requires environmental friendly technologies. So like this chrome free leather and this chrome tan leather. But this particular product do not have the dust producing grinding phenomena. But there are the dust producing grinding and the underground mining and the open cast mining in chromium areas that have the considerable impacts, especially environmental health impacts. So these are all the systematic studies on environmental health impact assessment that is carried out for the cotton ginning by using the the eco-friendly rollers as against the unsafe products of the the chromium leather clad rollers that are used in this cotton ginning industries. And this is a chrome free that has been tested, that is supposed to be tested, and almost the project was over. And this is a chrome free lint which has been ginned out from the eco-friendly the RCF, rubberized cotton fabric rollers in cotton ginning areas, and it has been demonstrated successfully. And these are the engineering parameters, and the successfully seed cotton ginned by the eco-friendly, environmental friendly ginneries. And the conclusion is the chrome leather and footwear industries in India and Indian seed cotton double roller ginneries that are significant contributors to the country's economy. However, the presence of chromium in these industries, which shall have the environmental health implications. An environmental health impact assessment which is proposed in this project for certain type of projects such as nuclear power plants, chrome tanned leather tanneries, chromite mining, that must address psychological concepts on the nearby residents in context to mental health, mental illness, and psychological impact assessment. The study and check found on human mind and functions and process mental characteristics that should investigate and of unconsciousness elements of human mind Chromium-6 compounds which can be found in leather products, which are dangerous, carcinogenic, mutagenic to the human health. They cause contact dermatitis when they come into contact with the sensitized skin. Certain chromium-6 compounds are carcinogenic primarily if inhaled. This is found especially in the unsafe chromium pollution from Orissa, 15 valleys, especially Jajpur, Balasur, as well as the Sukinda Valley. And the samples which is nearly around lint cotton, yarn, fabrics, seed, linter, edible oil, and oil which is contaminated nearly 110 to 1990 ppm that are obtained from the source specific dust producing grinding and CCLC chrome composite leather tar rollers in cotton ginning, India, especially Indian cotton ginning process, and which contaminated from the source of 18,077 to 30,000 ppm. And the ginned lint cotton gets contaminated, which is an extent of 143 to 1,090 mg per kg ppm of chromium. Woven fabrics of 17 to 45 ppm, and chromium against the safe limit of 0.1 ppm, and causes the chromium poisoning, that is negative logarithm of LD50 mg, that is kg per kg test organisms nearly around 50 to 150 ppm. And on the basis of the design and development of various rollers and subsequent performance evaluation studies, chrome free RCF rollers, that is rubberized cotton fabric rollers, that is demonstrated with reference to environmental friendliness. The newly designed developed rollers, which is effective and efficient in functioning in ginning environment. And the toxicological adverse health impacts of exhaled chromium are discussed here. And the root cause analysis, research and development, vegetable leather tanneries and unsafe chrome leather tanneries. And, and it is investigated the RCR, that is a root cause analysis that is walrus early phase in cotton ginning industries, especially UK and USA. The CCLC rollers in Bangladesh and Indian and Pakistan seed cotton ginneries, and rubberized cotton fabric rollers, which are need of the hour and should be logical, scalable, and fast to deploy, which transforms environmental friendly technologies to solve the root cause analysis, the problems by RCA skills. And recommendations. So these are the recommendations how it should be able to proceed with the following references. And these are the various references. So I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to present the paper on sports specific and generic and industrial specific, the environmental health impact assessment requirements, especially in the future areas, especially the areas which I have shown, especially in India and the Pakistan as well as the Bangladesh. Thank you very much.